a little something different today, but I thought it's something that would be worthwhile talking about. So obviously by the title of it and by the thumbnail, you'll know what I'm going to be talking about. If it's not for you, please do click out and see my next videos. I'll be back to sort of bookish goodness in my next video. But if you're interested in my thoughts, then keep watching. Hi everyone, I've been inspired to make this video because I've seen a lot of conversations on Twitter where people have been discussing the difficulties that they have faced in talking about race and sexuality, gender, things like that with their children. And it was something that I didn't realise people had difficulty doing, because it's something that I've always done. As soon as I had children, it was something that I just was always mindful of trying to include whilst raising a child. Now, I will say that this video I'm just going to talk about the way that I have done it, the way that I found works for me. And I'm not claiming to be an expert by any means. I will have gotten things wrong. I have at one point got something wrong, which I will talk about in this video. I'm definitely not trying to say that this is definitely a how-to situation, or that I really know what I'm talking about. This is just me putting out what I do, and I invite comments, I invite open criticism. If there's something that you think that I have done that is wrong or something that I could improve on, please do tell me down below. That doesn't mean that I'm opening my comments to shaming or hatred or anything like that. So as I say, this is not going to be all about I know everything and I'm going to tell you how brilliant my life is. It's not that at all. As I say, constructive criticism, please leave down below. For anybody who wants to leave anything nasty, please move on and let's get into it. For me, I always thought I'd start very young with my children and explaining the world, basically. And the reason that I want to do that is because I don't ever want certain areas of life to become taboo or to become something that I don't know how to tackle as they get older. I want my children to not really question different races, different religions, different sexualities, different genders. I don't want them to question that. I want that just to be how life is. And I think that tackling these sort of conversations young helps it just become part of your children's normality and helps it become just the way life is, basically. Now, as for race, I grew up in a very diverse city, and in my primary school there were children of different ethnicities. There were children in my street that I used to play with that were different ethnic backgrounds to myself. And I will say that my primary school were pretty good. They had people come in from different religions into school assembly time and talk to us about their religion and their beliefs and things, and we all learned quite early on about the different belief structures that people have, and I found it very interesting. However, I don't live in a city anymore. I moved to the countryside, and I mean very, very rurally, and there is a lot less diversity, and so I wanted my children to still understand diversity and still be sort of educated in that way. And as I say, this definitely isn't me saying that I know everything and I know how to do everything, I know exactly how everything should be approached. I don't, and I'm learning all the time. But so far, what I've been doing is I wanted my daughter to understand that different races are equal. So when she was small, I would buy her baby dolls that had different colour skins. So she would have some babies with black skin, she would have some babies with brown skin, she would have some baby dolls with white skin, and she had like a plethora of different colour skin tones for her baby dolls. Because as I say, there isn't a lot of diversity around where we live, so that was the best way that I could sort of think about introducing diversity to a small child. But I just wanted it imprinted very early on that her skin tone, which is the same as mine, isn't the only skin tone that there is. There are loads of different skin tones, and I just wanted her to be aware. Then furthering on from the babies, we moved on to Barbie dolls. Now, Barbie dolls have been brilliant. They have, when I was little, you could basically get white Barbie dolls and you would get the occasional sort of brown skin or dark skinned Barbie doll thrown in, but it was rare to find them in the shops, at least for me it was anyway. But Barbie lately have really, really gone out there with the diversity, and there are different sizes, different shapes, different colours, different hair. You've got Barbies that have got prosthetics, you've got Barbies in wheelchairs. It's brilliant, and because of that I feel really pleased to let my daughter play with Barbies now, because they've really moved on since I was a child. And moving on from just the toys that she plays with, I've always talked to my daughter about life and made it appropriate for her age group, so I haven't gone straight in there when she's been 3 years old and shown her any horrific pictures or anything. But as she gets older, we talk about things, and I always sort of try and let her know what the world is like, but making it relatable for her life. And if she asks me a question, I will answer to the best of my ability. But when it comes to race and racism, I wanted to tackle the subject gently, but also make her very aware of it. She came home quite upset because some children had been saying things in the playground about the English. And we live in Scotland, and some children in the playground were being rude about people from England. And my daughter knows that I'm English and I'm from England and I live in Scotland, and she came home quite upset about it. And that opened the door to a conversation about how some people will say horrible things about people that are different to them. So we talked about skin colour, hair colour, eye colour, religion, things like that, as much as a sort of an almost 4-year-old would understand. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of it I've found has to be targeted to their age group, because children just aren't going to understand the complexities of adult life when they're that young. But to make them aware is to make them prepared to be someone who can bring change. As she's got older, we have sort of deepened the conversation, and she understands that people have lost their lives over these situations, and we've had detailed conversations about it, and she really understands. She finds it really hard to understand that people would judge people based on skin tone or religion or how they speak or how they look. Or whether they're able-bodied or not, you know, all of this sort of thing. She finds it hard to understand discrimination, but she'll understand it more as she gets older and she mixes with more people. And especially when she starts high school, I'm assuming she will hear slurs and she'll hear horrible things. And I'm hoping that she's going to be ready to combat that herself and understand that that is wrong, and that people who say these things are not the type of people that she wants to associate with. Now, I've said I've gotten it wrong before in the past, and I have. Something that I know now that I didn't know then. I used to try and teach my daughter that colour doesn't matter, and that no matter what skin tone or anything that you've got, you're all the same inside. But I didn't realise until recently that that is just sort of disregarding a whole sort of cultural area that I need to explain. And as I say, I recently found that out, and I've been rectifying it myself. So we've been talking about different cultures, different foods that different cultures eat, different dress, different religious beliefs. I'm hoping that she sort of takes what I've said about treating everybody equally, but then also I'm hoping that she's going to learn to appreciate different cultures. And we do things such as I'm a keen cook myself, so we have themed weeks. I'll get recipes from one particular country or one particular culture, and we'll have a week of trying out different recipes. Obviously I know it's not authentic cooking, and I know that I'm obviously not of these different races and things, but it's the best that I can do. But again, if you've got any other sort of ideas or hints or anything that you think would be a good way to approach different cultures and teaching, let me know down below. Now, moving on to sexuality, I have been shamed by a couple of friends, actually by quite a few different people when it's become known that my daughter knew about different sexualities. Now, by sexuality, I don't mean that I have told my children about the birds and the bees. If I asked any questions about it, I will be honest and explain what happens. However, I haven't been asked yet, so I haven't actually tackled that area yet. But I've explained about love, and she understands that people grow up and get married and whatever, or some people don't want to get married. She understands all of that. But she obviously saw me and her dad being married, and she knows about growing up and falling in love and things. And so very early on, I taught her about love doesn't always mean that a woman marries a man or a man marries a woman. But I think it's important to understand that love is love, and that if she sees a couple who are a same-sex couple walking down the street together, hand in hand, I don't want her to question that and wonder what's happening. I want her to just understand that these people love each other. And similarly, I thought if she goes to school and she has a child in a class whose parents are a same-sex couple, I didn't want her to think that it was unusual, or I didn't want her to come home questioning about it. I wanted it to be cemented in her mind that this is just normal and that is just what happens, so that it isn't something that is questionable, if that makes sense. So I did tell her very early on about different sexualities. Obviously, I didn't tell her about all the sexualities, as I said, and we didn't go into everything because it is complex, and I told her sort of on a need-to-know basis. But it's not something that will hide from her. Any questions that she has or anything that she asks me, then I will tell her. I mean, for example, the other day, she understands the basics of reproduction, as in she knows that children come from eggs that are inside the mum. She doesn't understand the rest of it yet, but as soon as she asks, I will tell her. But she was asking me, just the other day in the car, out of nowhere, she suddenly asked me, well, if two women are together and they're married, how do they have a child? And so because she asked me that, I went straight in and I told her that sometimes that same-sex couples will adopt, or I explained briefly about IVF and about how different things like that can work. And that's how I like to have my conversations. I like to sort of be asked a question and just have it as a conversation. And so we talked about IVF, and she was absolutely mind blown that you could take an egg from one woman and put it into another, and then she could have a partner's baby and things. And she was absolutely mind blown, but it explained it to her, and then she just went on about a day and it became just normal. And I have been And as I say, I've been shamed for this before. Parents have told me that it's not appropriate and that children shouldn't know these things, but I personally absolutely disagree, and I want them to grow up to accept everybody. One of my friends told me that she thought that children should not be told about any sort of other sexuality apart from straight until they are teenagers, and I absolutely just despair that sort of thinking, because to me, by the time children are teenagers, they're starting to understand sexual attraction themselves, and if they're attracted to someone of their same sex, you're going to have a very confused teenager who doesn't know what's happening. Or you're going to have children who find out about different sexualities when they're teenagers and it comes across as something taboo if they've never heard of it before, and that is not the sort of child I want to raise. I want a child who doesn't think that it's weird, or who doesn't think that it's not acceptable, who doesn't think that they're weird if they are gay or straight or anything like that. I want it to be just normal. And if you're looking for a way door for conversation, I found that different pop music songs have been good for it. So Macklemore's Same Love, that is a brilliant song. The words to that are absolutely fantastic. Again, it might be something that you might want to check the lyrics first, because there are some of them that you might not want your child to hear. But for me, I used to play that song in the car. I love that song, it's brilliant. And I wanted my child to sort of understand from that. And then there are videos like Katy Perry's Firework. My daughter likes Katy Perry, she likes a bit of poppy music, and in Firework you've got a same-sex couple who kiss and the fireworks come, and you've got people who are all sort of very different. You've got plus-size girls jumping in the pool and not being ashamed of their body. These sort of videos are sort of tame ways to open up a conversation without making it a conversation, because some children don't respond well to being sat down and sort of told things. It has to come organically, and for me these sort of songs and pop culture is a good way to integrate it. Now, as far as gender's concerned, we were mindful of gender when I had my daughter, that I didn't want her to think that everything had to be pink and girly, because I do like pink things, I really do. Pink's my favourite colour, but I didn't want her to feel that she had to just be into pink and dolls and things. And so I bought blue things, I bought multicoloured things, I bought pink things, I bought dolls, I bought cars, I bought everything that you can imagine from boy and girl theme. First baby syndrome, you buy everything. And it just so happened that my daughter gravitated towards liking pink and liking dolls, and she picked those herself. She had all the other toys and I would play with her with all the toys, but she wasn't interested in the other things. She liked the dolls. But when I had a little brother, she asked me why I was buying pink things as well as blue things, and that gave me the chance to loosely talk about gender and about gender stereotypes and things with her, and to talk about how boys and girls aren't defined by colours or how they dress. Boys and girls can like and do exactly the same thing. Boys can wear makeup, girls can wear makeup, boys can shave their hair off, girls can shave their hair off. And as I say, again, it's not perfect and I don't claim to know everything. I don't know about the struggles that people go through with gender. I've read a bit about it, and what I know I've tried to pass on. But again, it's not something I've ever struggled with myself. I've always felt very female, very feminine, and I've never struggled with that. However, it's an area that obviously needs to be respected and an area that needs to be tread on gently. I had a moment of great pride when my daughter was little, that she came home from school and I was told that there was a little boy in the school who liked to dress up in the girls' clothes, and he liked to be Snow White. And the other children were standing around telling him that he couldn't be Snow White. And my daughter stood up and said, yes, you can wear Snow White, you can be Snow White if you want to be Snow White. And this little boy dressed up as Snow White, and him and my daughter played this game. They actually played it for a week. Every day they went in and he would dress as Snow White. But I did really like the fact that my daughter's starting to show that she understands that gender isn't something that is society based, if that makes sense. Probably not, but I'm trying. One of the things that really helped us with gender was that someone who we know, I won't say too much because obviously privacy issues, but someone who we know, I wouldn't say they're a family friend, they're not somebody who we really know closely, but we know enough to say hello to, has recently changed gender and has become trans. And at first my daughter found this very confusing, that they had started changing how they dress, how they look, and changed their name. And that gave us sort of leeway to, again, bring forward another organic discussion about gender and what gender means to people, and how this person felt that they'd been assigned the wrong gender and now they were taking the gender that they felt was right for them. Again, as I say, it's not something I've ever had personal experience with, and if you have any sort of child-friendly ideas on how to discuss gender, please leave them below. But we're just doing the best we can with whatever is around us, and we're all learning every single day. This is not something I've personally come across before either, so we all sort of learn together and learning to sort of change the pronouns that we use for this person. And because my daughter was only 6 at the time, it made it easier to explain to her and for her to just accept it, and she did. We explained to her what was happening, she accepted it, and she moved on. As I say, these things for me are best tackled young. I know a lot of people won't agree with it, but it's just what I think is the best for my child and my family. I want it to be normality, and I want my children to be able to have conversations with us openly about anything. And I'm hoping that that'll translate to the teenage years, so when they get older and they're unsure about their own lives, or they're looking at tackling relationships for the first time and anything like that, I want my children to be able to come to me and ask for advice and know that they'll get raw honesty. They might not want raw honesty, but they'll get it. I want them to understand that conversation is learning. And if I don't know something, I'll look it up. If I don't know something, I'll watch YouTube videos and try and find out. Because I don't know everything, nobody does, and we're all learning every single day. So I hope this video finds everybody well. If you have any suggestions or comments, unless they're hateful, please do leave them down below, and I will speak to you all soon in my next bookish video. Bye for now.